Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate all of you being here. I see we have right now we have 15 people in the group, and we have 3 likes, just three. All right, so thank you all. Now 26. Wow. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. For starters, I'm assuming that most of you came here from the premiere, and so maybe some of you have some uh, comments about the premiere, some feedback you'd like to say. Hello, Sydney. Thank you for being here. Glad to, very glad to see you here, and appreciate you being here. So, so what y'all think of that story? Uh, Pretty impressive, I thought, that the way that she just presses on. That really struck me. I remember during the interview being quite impressed with the things that she had going on with the magazine, and being so involved in empowering other people, and in recognizing the efforts that other people do. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Hello, Brenda, 320, right? Yes, that's right, Sally. Well spoken and well motivated. That really stood out to me. 305 Capricorn. I don't know that I've seen that name in these live events before, dude. But gosh, you've got a crown, so you just made my day. I love tuning in, and thank you for your time. Kim definitely blew me away. Whoops. I hit a weird button and everything vanished. That was kind of creepy, but I fixed it now, so we're all good. We're all good. It'll be fine. So yeah, so Kim's story. I'm sorry, I'm still having to get things back up. There we go. All right. So so yeah, Kim's story I thought was I thought it had some wonderful, inspiring points to it. I don't know if Kim is with us here, but maybe, or maybe not. Either way, so Kim, if you are here, please chime in and let us know. It could be some of our viewers have some questions for you. I thought I would also get some feedback. Bonnie Foster, first timer here. Where do I watch Kim's story? What is the blonde hair on the left? Oh, look at that. Hmm. Thanks for thanks for that. I will just figure out how to take care of that right away, and we'll just pretend like it wasn't there. How about that? But I'll tell you guys about it in a moment. That blonde hair belongs to someone in the group. It belongs to Gina. That is Gina's blonde hair, and she's one of our storytellers, and her story will be premiering very soon. Glenn, I wish we could know on the side of heaven how many lives you are saving. Stories that matter are your specialty. Well, thank you, Thank you, Brenda. And I feel very fortunate, very blessed to get to do this kind of work, to be meeting all of these awesome people who have these amazing, yes, Gina, it was your hair, have all these amazing stories of terrible loss, but also stories of survival, like with Kimberly and all of these wonderful efforts she has going on. For those of you who didn't notice in the description, there is a link to Bully Magazine. You can find a link in the description if you want to learn more about the magazine. And I will, let me just get a link here. What's the, it just breaks it. Bonnie's asking, how do I watch Kim's story? And so, Bonnie, here is the link right there for Kim's story. It just premiered. And so now that the premiere is over, you can watch it just like any other story on our channel. Kim, you saw someone last Saturday. You saw someone overdose? Is that what you're saying? There you go. Bonnie, we're here for you. We are here for you. So that sounds like a scary thing to see. Wow. And so was he revived? Did anyone have naloxone or Narcan, as most people say? So Bonnie's new. Who else is new? Who else is new to the group? Who else is maybe a first time watcher, or maybe just the first time you decided to say something? Uh, we have an adult son. Vivi, the berry picker, says we have an adult son who currently in a state of cannabis-induced psychosis. It is living hell. Yes, that's a series that we are new to. So right now, I think we have really we have 5 or 6 stories about cannabis-induced psychosis. We have easily we have over 20 more recorded that we just haven't been able to make the time to edit yet, and we have more coming. It's a new topic for me, so I am very much learning about it, and I have learned a lot over the last couple of months in the course of preparing for the cannabis storytelling summits and in creating the content. And I've spoken with several physicians, an emergency room physician whose story is already published, and talked with some scientists and a little bit with local law enforcement here in Houston. I watched them all, and thank you for all the work you do. Well, thank you, Vivi, the berry picker. Kim says justice for the families. That's really such a big deal. There is a sense of closure to achieving some sort of justice. And I think maybe closure isn't even the right term. Maybe the right term is something more like validation. That if the world just goes on after you lose a loved one and no one opts to do anything about it, uh, sorry, I got distracted by the messages over here. I think something happening in response to your loss, like a conviction, like an investigation, like something. I think it's more than just closure. It is some sort of validation for your loss. So, justice for all victims. My first time, I'm a hospice patient that weaned myself off of fentanyl patches. I don't like the side effects, like falling a lot. Yeah, falling a lot doesn't sound like a pleasant experience for sure. So, this fentanyl is really scary. Yeah, for sure. It 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 is, and I don't know. Some of you probably saw that me and that my wife and I were at the White House last week, and we were there for a what was it? It was the signing of the Halt Fentanyl Act, that uh, a bill that was passed by Congress, that a bipartisan bill, which I thought was way cool. So, and being in the White House, it was interesting. We'll go with that. It was. I'm sitting in the audience, and most of the I think I have a picture here somewhere, maybe. Okay, well, maybe I have to do it that way. Okay. So it was surreal to be in there, to be there, just sitting in this small audience. I'll find you a picture in a second here, folks. And so sitting in this small audience, and the row in front of me was full of the row in front of me was full of senators. And so what was funny about this is uh, we were just we were sitting there, and I would just lean forward and ask these guys questions, and it was funny to me because it was very much like like sitting in a class waiting for the teacher to come in, and you're just cutting up with the people sitting around you, and the people sitting around me were senators. It was a little bit bizarre, and then the president came in, and it was interesting. So let me catch up. No, it wasn't pleasant. It says justice for all victims. uh, there is, yeah. I have a friend who is managing cancer, and she has fentanyl patches, and I've learned a great deal from her. They're, they do help her a lot. Brenda, I'm trying to get box of kits. What? I don't know what that means. I should get out more. I don't know what that means. Hello, Cameron. Welcome. Glad you're here. Kimberly, you lost a friend. John, forever 48 in 2021. Very, very sorry, Justice. Justice, how is your march forward? Did I miss stuff? Gina says nothing is more painful than feeling helpless to bring our children comfort. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things where you feel absolutely you're worthless if you can't do that. You that's how you it makes you feel. If you can't if you can't fix it, whatever it is, just it makes you feel worthless. So Justice for all, no, it wasn't pleasant. Let me catch up, folks. So, Justice, how is your web page, Brenda? I am trying to get a box of kits. Kimberly, I don't know what that means. Box of kits. Let me know if you can locate kit, and I will mail you one. Kimberly says, Glenn, I met a lot of moms lost their kids from fentanyl overdose. There's a lot of moms out there in that boat, in that club. They call it a club. They call it a club no one wants to be a part of. Fentanyl kits. All right, so a fentanyl kit is naloxone and what else? Maybe gloves, breathing barrier if you do mouth to mouth. Am I forgetting something? The other thing that should be in a kit is a phone, because anytime you revive someone with naloxone, uh, which is the drug that's in Narcan and a bunch of other brands, anytime you revive someone with naloxone, there is a possibility that the naloxone will wear off before the opioid that caused the overdose wore off. So it's vitally important to call 911 right away. So where are we here? From 2008 to 2010, there was fentanyl spray called Inesis. It was bilingual and claimed several lives. I think it has been banned in the U.S. Sally says, Brenda, it spoke two languages. I think Sally's playing around a little bit there. So anyway, let me see where we are at. So a minute ago, I was talking about the whole why do dealers lace fentanyl? They don't. Not I think now some dealers, but they're not in dealer role when that happens. They're in distributor, manufacturer kind of role, because you have to have a pill press, and so and so if you make a pill that has if you make a counterfeit Percocet, as long as the dosage of fentanyl is right, the user can't tell the difference. So it's just cheaper, and it's so concentrated that it's easy to ship. It's not dependent on any kind of crop because it's synthetic. It's a synthetic opioid. And so it is a cheap substitute, and the user doesn't know the difference. So that's it. So, hello, Dawn. Is Kimberly asking about overdose prevention kits? Yeah. Dawn. Dawn, did I meet you last week? That that thing? Is that right? Never heard of this. Which this are we talking about? Sometimes I don't know. I get out of sync with the chat. One's faster than the other, and I start. Okay, Dawn. There's a Dawn that I met last week in Washington, and thought it might be you because she's very active in the fentanyl thing, fentanyl awareness. That would be the way to say it. That would be the far more responsible way for me to say it, I believe. So, as we were speaking a few minutes ago about this trip last week to the White House, and so I have a picture I can show you. It's not really about me, but this is during the president's speech. Behind him were a bunch of bereaved parents, and if you can see on the graphic that we identified the parents that we have created stories for in our fentanyl poisoning series. So I thought that was way cool to be looking at that and knowing so many of the people that are up there. It was just a really cool thing. So I just thought I would share. And I can tell you, we have run into a little bit of criticism from some people who have commented on our channel who are certainly not fans of the current president, and that's fine. Where I'm where we are at, where I'm at, and I think that both parties are two sides of the same piece of, you know, and that they both really have the same methods. They both aren't particularly respectful of the people that they represent in general, and they both treat us like we're kind of stupid from different perspectives. And so I was not there in support of the administration. I was there in support of our storytellers. A lot of storytellers were there. There was 7 or 8 or 9 standing behind the president, and I don't think that really matters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that you can see, and it could be that there's another one right behind the podium. And so So, regardless of what you think about the current administration, it's still the White House. It's still a giant deal that is a pathway to get things done. It is a pathway to increase awareness. It is a pathway to save lives. And so it is, there were commenters who criticized us for, for being there. That I don't, that baffles me. It really just, it doesn't make any sense at all. It is still the office of the president. It is still the executive branch of government. All right. So my friend Justice for All says most dealers don't. I'm sorry. Brenda says most dealers don't have a clue what's in their product. If dealers aren't users, they will have a tester for that product. Well, that's interesting. Justice for All says my friend is addicted to the street fentanyl, and I stay very afraid for her. There's no telling what's in the stuff she smokes. Heroin is in it also. Here's a weird thing because of fentanyl, heroin has become comparatively safe compared to fentanyl. It's very strange to me. Don says, I have seen the worst side of what that garbage does, but the most important thing is education. Yeah, that is really the key is education, is awareness, is people out there knowing what is possible. Awareness. It's the thing to me. There is an elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is the demand. That there's a demand for illicit drugs. If it wasn't for the demand, fentanyl wouldn't be out there on the street. It's out there because people buy it. I have a cousin that is homeless. Kimberly says, I have a cousin that is homeless and smoking meth in the same pipe with other people. Well, that just sounds gross. It's dangerous. It also sounds gross. So, Vivi says, thank you for the information, Brenda. Yes, knowledge is priceless, especially for a world most of us know nothing of. And Brenda says, Glenn, there's very little heroin on the streets anymore, just a bunch of fentanyl users who think they're only doing heroin. That's correct. I've heard that from many people. I've heard that from DEA agents and from users and other law enforcement and recovery. I don't know, like people who work in recovery centers, they all say that. Let me see. But in my opinion, Justice says, but in my opinion, they combine the two together, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Justice, I don't think that's it. I think what makes it dangerous is fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. So it takes a lot less to achieve the same kind of same kind of result. And so it's fentanyl is used as a substitute or as an extender that there is no that what I hear over and over is that there is no heroin on the streets anymore. It is all fentanyl. Fentanyl and some sort of binder, some sort of baking soda or whatever. Uh, Brenda says, Vivi, ask me anything. I have no shame about my fentanyl addiction because my shame could cost someone else their life, and I am too pissed to let more die. You tell them, Brenda. And Don says, in these pain clinic doctors, they are something just as bad as the street dealers because they don't educate their patients at all. Yeah, yeah. There's doctors out there that are like that. There's doctors who tend to look at their patients, tend to treat their patients like children. What is it? Kimberly says I'm doing whatever it takes to save lives. So let me see. Is Gina still here? Gina, are you still here? I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the upcoming story that is a new topic. So we have a story, and you get more from hello Gina, and you get even more sick from the withdrawal symptoms. Yeah, the withdrawal sounds terrible from what I've been told by Brenda and by other people. We have a whole series on addiction recovery, and so I've heard quite a bit about what the ordeal of withdrawal is like. Brenda says, Vivi, just because something is legal doesn't mean it is safe. Don't buy anything from a vape store for the time being. Yeah, yeah. There's that. There's that. We can talk about cannabis in a minute. Because holy cow, I've learned a lot in the last couple of months about that, and I've learned a lot about some of the YouTube commenters. We'll get into that in a minute, but I wanted to tell you guys about a news story that is going to premiere possibly tomorrow, either tomorrow or Thursday. A story about domestic violence. And the storyteller is with us right now. She is in the chat, and her name is Gina, and she's fantastic. So what I can share with you for now is the thumbnail, and this is I can't speak. This is part one of the story, Finding Freedom, part one, The Escape. And Gina's story is it is captivating, it is powerful and heartbreaking. And I can tell you it's one of the most difficult stories I've had to work on. And it wasn't just me. We have another editor. He does spectacular work, and he did most of the editing, and then I come in and just do some tweaks that makes it work for me, and so this story, it's another new topic. It's domestic violence, and it is such an important topic, and so I don't it's it's a weird thing because you don't want to really come off as being excited to talk about domestic violence because, well, it's domestic violence. It's not a pretty topic, but I am excited about the prospect of bringing able to bring this information to a lot of people and maybe help people find a pathway out of a rough situation that they're in. So, so that's how I would put it. Glenn, you are killing me with a teaser. Being a former junkie, I need my satisfaction now. You make me wait. Regina's story, good thing you saved my life, or I might be upset. Ah, well, I'm okay. Gina and Kimber, did you guys meet when we were shooting? I bet you did, right? Maybe. You probably met. Hope so. I understand that fully, Brenda. It's really tough to come off of it. It was for the patches. I don't know about the street kind. Okay, what is going on here? Oh my. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. It's gonna happen once in a while. I get phone calls or text messages, and I feel obligated to check on it. Don, has anyone ever heard of dragon's blood for pain relief? Well, that's a new one on me. I haven't heard of it. It No, I haven't. I haven't heard of it. So, Brenda, you find that the thumbnail was pretty intriguing. Here's a thing, Brenda, that uh, if 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 the thumbnail left you feeling like you're in suspense, you're gonna hate the way that you're gonna hate the way part one ends. Dawn knows about Dragon's Blood. Gina, how long were you under someone else's thumb? If I need to wait for story to premiere, I will. Hmm. Nothing taken by mouth or smoke. It's incense. Incense, that's a new one on me. Is it a plant based Dawn? Just breathe in and out. My wife was blown away with Gina. 3 years in the same house. Thank you for sharing. We are here for you guys. Now we're kind of we have these. I couldn't hear her, but she could. Yeah, Pat's kind of deaf. I know the feeling, and I could hear her just fine. Uh, Kimberly's story. Kimberly's story is really fantastic. I was really excited about Kimberly's story because there's such a message of hope, and there's a message of of keep going. There's a message of don't don't get lost in your own grief. Move on and embrace the gift you have. And yeah, so powerful. Brenda says, Gina, thank you for making it out alive. I was raised in a domestic violence home. It was awful, so I left at 16. And Dawn says, I have a boyfriend who has a lot of pain, as do I. And I can tell you from experience, it truly, truly makes a difference. Talking about dragon's blood, I guess. And so, yeah, kind of. So on our channel, now we have this, we have the fentanyl series, we have the recovery series, we have a domestic violence series that is starting up, and we have this cannabis-induced psychosis series. And so we've got some diversity building up, and I feel like that is an important thing for the channel. What do you guys think? Is there a topic we should be doing that we're missing? Willa? Willa just being Willa. So sorry for the loss of your family. Yeah, that was one of the really hard things I thought about Kimberly's story was this kind of, and then she lost this person, and then she lost this person, and then she lost this person. Kimberly, I've been in domestic violence since 1992. What are you telling us, Kimberly? Brenda says 16 to 42 were my good years. 43 to 57 were my opioid years. The 58 to whatever will be spent living my purpose. Living your purpose is living the dream. They're the same thing. Wow. Okay. What about children and substance? Yeah, children get that gets to be challenging, but you mean like children that are born addicted, children that are users? Well, yeah. Yeah, it's here's the thing. Like Brenda said, Glenn, how can you take on more topics? Your plate has fentanyl, cannabis-induced psychosis, domestic violence, addiction recovery, and you left out human trafficking. Law enforcement officers, you really want more? Yeah, yeah, I do. The big bottleneck is the editing time. It takes a lot of time to edit stories. There's a film director, Charles Dutton. I heard him say once that editing, talking about editing video or film, editing is like washing a battleship with a toothbrush. Children that are born of substance, I don't, I don't see I don't see a pathway to make that happen. There could be interview based. I don't know. Open to that. I also want to do a series for the homeless called Messages Home. I think I mentioned that to some of you guys before. I knew my junky brain couldn't remember them all. You are a glutton for punishment, but I will try to think of other stories that matter. You know, okay, a couple of things. It's not a junky brain. It's just the brain you have. Don't uh, don't don't run yourself down. Really, that's such a simple mental health exercise to not run yourself down. It's simple. It's it can be an act of laziness. You just don't do it. So it's easy. Uh, Justice for all victims. Yeah, I do research the children on the children trafficking. It's so sad. Lots are in the music industry and Hollywood industry. Well, that sounds intriguing. That sounds like the kind of thing that we would love to bring more attention to. Brenda says she loves the messages home idea. Many people who aren't homeless may not have a place to call home. Kimberly is right, Brenda. We all care about you. Kimberly's so sharp. That Kimberly is she's a kick. And so you guys uh, it is so cool the way the dynamic gets going in this chat. And it seems to get more that way as it gets to be later in the evening. Okay, we have been here for almost 50 minutes now. And it's awesome. I'm out of coffee. What do I got? I could probably put on a video and go get more coffee. That'd be yeah, it's all gone. I could probably put on a video and go get more coffee and have time to spare. We have the Brenda says, Kimberly, I love you all. My and she says my brain is so much better than it was when I first got clean. She is making a great comeback. And don't fall asleep. Thank you, Kim. I'll try to stay awake. Uh, Keep going, Glenn. I got coffee. I'll drink for you. Thanks, Pat. You know you're really there. So here's, I think I have a way that I can do this. I can, unless Gina objects, I can play just a little bit of her story. Will it just be Willow? This channel is very needed. Hopefully, with enough discussion, we can find solutions. Excellent topics, honest heartbreak of drugs, and more. For sure. I think I am so completely living the dream doing this kind of content. This is so much in line with my dreams since high school. And so and so to get to do that, it's just such a big deal that we're in this spot where we just pick our topics and we're not accountable to anyone. It's not really a teaser. I would just be picking a spot in the video and playing it. But uh, we're not accountable to anybody except the audience and the people that we interview. That's very much living the dream. When we were in Portsmouth, the camera operator that was with the news crew that did the story about us, he even said that. He said he was envious of what we're doing. I thought that was way cool. All right, so all right, I believe I can make this happen. I'm pretty sure. So, but you gotta you can be patient for a minute here, and we'll see. All right, so I'm hearing that. All right, so I'm getting there. Hmm, I'll do that. Looky there, maybe. Okay.
And
Oh, look at there. Did y'all hear that? And so, ooh, it doesn't look quite right. Hmm. We're almost there, folks. Oh, that's why. Okay, I understand. We're almost there. Almost there. I am. Hmm. Okay. We're getting there. Mm, okay. All right. So, all right. So here's the way I'm gonna duck out and grab some coffee. Here we go. Okay, but before I do that, that's right, Brenda. No one but you and Pat. Pat. Brenda says, Pat, you know I love you more than my own pastor. Just don't tell him. I don't want to hurt his feelings. And Pat says, we keep that between us. No one knows but you and Brenda and you know, there's Kimberly and Gina and all the other gang that's here. But so we are set now to make this happen. So here we go.
it started in a bar, as all good stories do. It started in Elmer's Old Time Inn. It was a birthday party for a coworker at the hospital I was working at, and I wasn't going to go because I was newly divorced. I was fresh out of college, and I got married right after graduation, and I got divorced right after graduation. So I'm kind of ashamed and humbled and all those things that nice Catholic girls shouldn't feel or always feel. That's where I was when I went to Carol's birthday party that night. And as I was sitting there on a bar stool, I saw another guy there who was working the room, and he was so charming and kind of darkly handsome. And he was like working the room, right? He was telling jokes, and everybody kind of gravitated towards him, and everybody wanted to touch him or hug him. He kissed an old lady on the cheek, the whole thing. He had it down. And I just kind of watched, but tried to act like I wasn't watching, and tried to act like I didn't really care. But he came to me, and then all this attention he poured on me, and that was pretty exciting for me, especially the way I was feeling. I was feeling like a failure, and here someone was paying attention to me, and it was so nice. And so the evening ended. I gave him my phone number with no expectations. But then the next day at work, the woman who had the birthday party, she said, "Hey, he's quite a cutie, heartbreaker. Too bad he's married." And I'm like, "Oh, he's married." And then I worked second shift at the hospital, and when I got home, he was calling me. And he says, "I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. I got to see you again." And I said, "What about your wife?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not married. That's not true. I need to talk to you. I need to tell you in person." So I said, "Sure." And he came over, and he said, "Well, I am married, but I'm not married." So what happened was, he said he was separated from his wife, and that she was wanted by the police for drugs. And she came to his apartment. He was living in Nashville. She came there, and she said, "You've got to run with me from the police or I'm going to kill myself." And he said right in front of him, she started cutting her wrists. And she was bleeding all over his apartment, and he said he was scared. And so he wrapped her up in a blanket, and they drove all the way to Illinois. And when they got to Illinois, the police caught up with her, and they took her to prison. So he said he's technically married, but his wife is in prison, and they'd already separated. And so he had no intention of getting back with her, and that was just the end of that. And I believed him, and I felt bad for him, and what a sad story, and what a strange story, but who was I to judge? And he said, "I can't get a job here in Illinois. I'm having trouble." He said he stayed in Illinois to get a job, but he couldn't find a job. And he was going to have to go back to Nashville unless, and mind you, I only knew him for a few days, I'm ashamed to say, unless I let him stay with me. And since I was newly divorced, I had a small house by myself. And if he could stay with me, then he could stay in Illinois. And I said, okay. And you know what he did next? He stepped out the door, and he pulled in 2 garbage bags full of his stuff. He said, "I knew you didn't want to lose me." He was ready to stay already. And so he moved in with me, and he wasn't working. I was working at nights at the hospital. And he was a drinker, but so was I. And so we went out when I would get off work. We would go out almost every night. And he would overdo it, and he would go kind of to a dark place when he did that. But I knew he'd had a hard life, hard background, and so I didn't really, put him down for that. It just was what it was. And pretty soon, it was not just him going out with me. He was going out without me. He started going out drinking more and more. I would be at work, and I would come home, and he'd already be drunk and in this dark kind of stupor. And that was about the time that he hit me the first time. I came home from work and he was
Okay,
already.
folks. So I'm back. That was pretty convenient timing, wasn't it? Don't you think? So that story will be premiering, I believe, in the next couple of days. Gina hasn't seen it yet, all the way through. I don't think. I don't think she's had time to. The first part, it's a two-part story. The second part isn't finished yet, and the that story that story is a little over 50 minutes long, and so uh, it is 50 minutes long and a good solid 50 minutes. It is not. Uh, and I don't think it drags anywhere. Brenda, I know you here. Gina, thanks for getting away from him. We need you. Yeah. Yeah. Gina and Kimberly, both, they're badasses. Absolutely. Just strong, determined, powerful, great role models, great achievements. I remember during the interview with Gina, it got to a point where I had to stop. I had to just stop, take a minute, come out from behind the camera, and take a knee next to Gina, and just just talk for a minute. Kind of like it's kind of like when the catcher goes to the pitcher's mound and talks with the pitcher for a few minutes. Same kind of thing. They don't really talk about anything, but they needed that break. I don't think Gina really needed it, but I did. So yeah. And I remember a lot about Kimberly's story too. And how often that I would be going through in my head, and I would either be thinking, "Oh, that's terrible," or thinking, "Oh, that's awesome." That this the the things that Kimberly has overcome and continues to overcome, it just it's so it's so impressive. And okay, so here's a funny thing. I got an email from someone. I'll have to look at it and see if I can find the person's name. I got an email from someone named Denise, and I'm gonna read it to you. I got the email a couple of days ago, and Denise said, "I've watched many of your videos. I have been deeply moved by the stories you have presented. I would really like to see more videos involving women of color. I believe this could have a great positive impact on many women of color. And yeah, we were already working on Kimberly's story when I got that email. I thought it was way cool. Now we virtually never know anything about the person we're interviewing until just minutes before the interview. That's typically when we meet in person. So I thought it was way cool to get an email like that and have a story like Kimberly's coming right up. I thought that was cool. So just thought I would share that with you guys. All right, Gina. So you saw a little bit. You still seem to be okay. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So some of you guys are aware that we have this new series about cannabis-induced psychosis on our channel, and I don't know how many of you have noticed, but uh, I don't know how many of you have noticed about the cannabis series, but holy cow, it has drawn a lot of resistant comments. We could describe it like that. People who leap to the defense of cannabis. It's really it's entertaining to see to me because big deal. If if we were making stories about alcohol, nobody would do that with alcohol. If we were making stories about the negative health impacts that coffee can have on a person, nobody would leap to. But cannabis, THC, weed. Some of the comments are just crazy. Uh, Here's something that I've noticed that I may have mentioned this before, but the comments that are defending weed tend to be a lot more um, agitated, and they tend to have a lot more misspelled words. That's funny to me. So Gina Kimberly's episode is on our channel. I added the link to Kimberly's episode in the chat if you need it. I think I can probably just do this. Pretty sure that's the link right there. And that's the easiest way to see it. So Brenda says, the more I watch the CIP series, the more I fear CIP will replace fentanyl as the deadliest, which is scary because people don't want to let go of their pot. Yeah, they do not. And we're not campaigning toward any sort of specific solution. We're increasing awareness. There are a lot of people who really love their weed. And I learned of a term called California sober. Brenda, I bet you know about that term. Just because you're informed, I'm not saying anything. It's just that you're well informed, so you would be likely to know about that term. California sober. It means that yeah, you're off the hard stuff, but you're still smoking weed. That's California sober. I think. Anyway, and we just want them to be aware of the potential dangers. That that's that's really it. Is it is the potential dangers. Everybody knows one of the big arguments that we hear a lot is from people that are defending cannabis. Another big argument that we hear is, well, what about alcohol? What about alcohol? What about alcohol? You know, everybody knows about alcohol. Pretty sure, you know, it is not. There's no dispute about alcohol and the potential health risks. There's no dispute about the dangers or potential dangers of alcohol. People who drink do not leap to the defense of alcohol the way people who use cannabis leap to the defense of cannabis. It's almost like they're paranoid, which is actually a symptom of cannabis use disorder. What does that mean? Hmm. California sober is the stupidest term ever invented. I don't know. It seems like a pretty good term. You can figure it out pretty quick that California sober means something. Yeah. I don't know. But anyway. So I got my coffee. Hmm. Viola. Wow, you kind of late to the show, but glad you're joining us. We'll be here for a little while longer. Look, we have 42 people watching us right now. In all, we've been through over 350 viewers, and in all of that, we only have 18 likes, only have 18 thumbs up. Brenda says California sober means you only smoke weed. First, the correct term would be California clean. Sober only applies to alcohol, which is the worst drug on the planet, bar none. Justice for All Victims says, stayed in a domestic violence marriage for 15 years. People ask me why I didn't leave. Some don't fully understand what a person goes through. I was terrified to leave. I was on a roller coaster, it seemed. Yeah, from what I got from Gina's story, it was the same kind of thing for her. And it's it's terrible. And the domestic violence stories. We have a couple of them now, and I find them a little bit extra tough because they're so deeply personal, and oh, they are so important. That at the beginning of the story, we have a message that I don't remember the details of the message, but let me see if I can get to it. They because you know I closed it because we were finished with it. So uh, hmm. Anyway, the big message to it is that there is just there's a message at the beginning, much like in the fentanyl stories. There's a message that about how many people fentanyl kills. And the message at the beginning of the domestic violence story is that over 12 million people per year are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. 12 million people per year. Thank goodness, Justice for All Victims. I really like that screen name. Thank goodness I finally got a way out through a tragedy. Sadly, he was in a terrible car accident, and that was my way out. Funny how that works. Justice, my mom stayed for 25 years. It was scary as a child, but glow in the dark is here. Cool deal. My mom stayed for 25 years. It was scary as a child, but I fully believe that it but I fully believe that is what gave me the strength to face fentanyl the way I did. You got out when you could and alive, so you're good. Brenda just nails it all the time. Glow in the dark said, "Justice for all." I understand what you're talking about, as I was just explaining that to somebody, that some people actually protect their abuser because they're trauma bonded, chemically addicted to torture. And Justice for All says that's exactly Brenda. And hello around the world from Glow in the Dark. Viola says, my mom would never leave my dad, and he was highly abusive. The thing is, you can't really imagine the circumstance until you're in it, until you're seeing all of the variables that have to do with what is obligating you to stay, what is scaring you about the idea of leaving. That there is so much. Shaky Bean says, you have interviewed so many. All of them are amazing stories. Is there one or two stories that stick out? Yeah, there are. It's a funny thing. Now, when I was at the White House last week, there was more than a dozen storytellers there that have shared their story with us. And when I see a storyteller, even if it's a storyteller that's from, a couple of years ago, when I see them, I don't necessarily recall the story, but I recall how I felt when they shared the story. It's weird. It's kind of hard to explain. There's not. I can't. I can't imagine giving you one or two stories that really stick out. I can tell you, but because sometimes the story sticks out because at the interview and after the interview, that becomes the beginning of of a wonderful friendship between me and the storyteller, me and my wife and the storyteller and the storyteller's family. And so the story stands out not necessarily because of the story, but because of the relationship that came from it. We all are great survivors, says Justice for All. We are. We are. I think I think that's totally true. We all have our own crosses to bear, they say. We all have trauma in our lives. We've all been through trauma. Probably we can all qualify as having post traumatic stress, which kind of means it's not a thing if everybody has it. Seems like. Glow in the Dark says I started to learn about mental disorders. It's gone. I was reading that. Glow in the Dark. You just took it away just like that. What happened? Viola, we have so much in common. It's crazy. How cool is it that we both are here right now? Love you, girl. Glow in the Dark says, hey there, Brenda. No, I've been through some tough things, but God has set me free from those things. I have been single for quite a while. And then, Glow, you will never guess who introduced me to God. When I was 50 years old, there was no DV laws, so a cop who watched my dad beat my mom invited me to church. I I owe that officer and Glenn my life. Brenda, you got to give yourself a lot of credit. You should, because your story is such an inspiration to others. So you have to give yourself credit so you can share that inspiration with others at its most impactful level. So Glow in the Dark says, Brenda, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it with me. God found me at 3 years old. He must have known that I would face what I would face ahead, and he had to be there to carry me through it all. Hello, Sadie. Thank you for joining us. I don't know what the wow is for, but glad you're here. Glenn, I met God when I was 5, not 50. Did I did I read it wrong? Brenda is inspiring. Brenda, you see that? There's Viola. Brenda is inspiring. Brenda, you are inspiring. And that's all that's all on you. It's awesome. And it's great that you share so openly. I'm such a strong believer. I guess that's kind of obvious with the kind of work we do. But uh, I'm a firm believer in sharing stories. I think everybody grows when you share a story. Everybody, everyone who listens, everyone who shares a story also grows. Glow in the Dark says, I'm sorry, Glenn. Sometimes Google messes up what I've said and it's not intelligible. So, yeah, it's always cool to be able to blame Google. And Sadie says, we are warriors for light. Shaky Bean says, okay, I don't know what to do with that. Glow, I tell everyone God carried me through active addiction or I would be dead, dead, dead. Give him all the credit. All right. Very good. So we have been here for quite a while now. And so I think it's going to be about time to wrap it up. When we get to the premiere set for the next story, which I believe is going to be Gina's story, Gina's part 1 story, we will announce it on here on the channel and on Facebook as well. Glow in the Dark says, my daughter was kidnapped and God gave her back to me after begging him. She was missing for 12 to 13 days. Wow. Somebody was going to sell her in Mexico, so it's a miracle how God returned her. Wow, Glow in the Dark, that's rough. That sounds terrifying. Pat says, Brenda Glow, you have testimony without a test. You can't have a message without a mess. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Jesus, for saving lives. As Sadie Glow, I'm sorry you had to go through those 13 days. Sadie, all the glory to God always. Remember what you take for granted someone else is praying for. But what that tells me that Brenda heard me say it's time to wrap it up, because Brenda always puts that message up right near the time we wrap everything up here. So I want to thank you all for joining us. We will be doing this again very soon. We will probably do another live event when we premiere Gina's story. Gina's story is long, and it's a 2-part story. The second part is about half as long as the first part. Just worked out that way. The second part is almost finished, and so we are about ready to go public with it. Anyway, so I want to thank you folks for all joining us. Did I say that out loud? It wasn't my inside voice, right? All right. So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here and for making the live event live, making it something that is a living thing. The way that everyone in the group supports each other is really beautiful. So Justice for All Victims says, I thoroughly enjoyed this live episode. Glad to meet everyone. Hugs and prayers. Awesome. Sadie says, awesome. Good night. And I'm going to go with that too. I'm going to say awesome and good night, but I want to always remind you folks that we are always available. You can always reach out to me anytime. You can email us at info@texas-pictures.com. You can find us on Facebook by my name, Glenn Muse, or Texas Pictures. You can find the company on Facebook as well. We're also on TikTok, and you can find out more information about Texas Pictures on our website. How to share your story. You can find a link to our page of Texas Pictures merchandise. As odd as that sounds to me, we do have merchandise. And find out more about Texas Pictures. So I want to thank you all again for joining us, and we will see you guys very soon. Good night, folks.